How's everyone doing tonight? Hey, Matthew, how are you doing tonight? Amazing. There's Todd.
We are.
Oh, just rocking out a little bit to some yacht rock, which is going to be one of the themes that we're going to explore this conference. Leaning back into the 70s and some nostalgia for our opening party. Hello, I'm so excited for our special guest tonight. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone and getting everyone into the headspace to start planning for the 2024 IFDF Annual Conference and Trade Show at Hammock Beach. Be with us, we're heading back. For our student members, you can sign up for Free Student Day, which will be on Friday, May 31st, by going to our website, ifdf.org, and then going to the events, conference, and then selecting Student Friday only registration, which includes access to the Celebration of Life Services, trade show, the lunch buffet, Monica Torres, who is coming back with us, and I'm so excited. And there she is. Hey, Monica. We're so excited that you're going to be returning with us to be with us again this year. I'm so excited to see you. And that's also going to include a student mixer, which I'm going to ask Monica if she will come and do a meet and greet with us. There's a special $50 discount for full conference registration the week. Yeah. And that is going to be available through May 15th, and that will get you through most of the conference registration. There's a few events that will be an additional charge, the trivia night specifically, but it is well worth it for all you can eat and drink. After May 15th, registration, yay, Monica said she'll do a meet and greet. Thank you, Monica. We're so looking forward to seeing you. Registration rates will go up to $100 for that student discounted price. So make sure that you get registered if you're going to come for the full conference by May 15th. This year is going to be amazing, from a President's Welcome Yacht Rock Party to Death Trivia, Margaritaville Remembrance Party, and so much more. We'll be kicking everything off with a pre-conference funeral celebrant training and certification with Todd Reinholt, who's here with us tonight. And I want to talk to him a little bit more about this. This is a 20-hour CE training over 3 days. It's really 2.5 days. It'll begin the day before everything gets going on Tuesday, May 28th. And so you're going to want to start planning ahead for that. If you're going to arrive on that Monday, do know that it's a holiday. And so you're going to want to get those bookings into the hotel. Tuesday, May 28th, you'll get things started bright and early at 8:30 in the morning. If you plan to drive straight in that day, we'll make sure we have a place that you can bring your luggage before check-in happens. And that'll run through Thursday, May 30th. Wednesday, the 29th, we've been really careful about programming so that you can take this course and not be up against or be missing any continuing education classes. That's my spiel. Hey, Todd, how are you doing? What's going on in your world, and how cold has it been in Canada this last month?
Well, it has finally warmed up in Canada, but it has been about 3 weeks ago, it was about -30, -35. It was pretty chilly up here in Edmonton.
Wow, I can imagine you're looking forward to coming down to Florida to be with us. That is freezing.
It's cold. It's cold.
The Modernizing Ceremony panel from last year, which you appeared on, really gave life to this. And it was a conversation about what was new and next in the industry. In the panel, we discussed preferences for funerals and memorializations are rapidly changing in the United States and broadly in North America. I think in some ways Canada is a little bit in front of this conversation because the cremation rates are so high as compared to some parts of the United States. Florida is certainly approaching some of those numbers, but we're not quite there yet. We discussed hybridized services, growing secular needs, the pivot towards hospitality. We talked about food as ceremony and ritual, and the kind of pivot of the funeral director becoming an event planner in a broader way, in a bigger way. We talked about the adoption of the celebration of life, which is certainly in some communities language that's being used, but we're seeing it more broadly adopted. Non-traditional venues, and of course, the power of celebrants. Right. Even before the pandemic, large demographic segments of American society were moving beyond the most traditional funeral rites. And so it's important we get in front of consumers who might be looking for something new. The growing importance of a celebrant is increasingly becoming visible, and they are a bridge to many who may opt for no service at all, which is really an unfortunate thing. And we talked a lot about that when I took your program. It's our job as funeral directors to hold space for families and meet them where they need to meet us at. And I think the area for those who are spiritual but don't have or have a loose relationship with an organized religion is a place where we can innovate and anticipate what a lot of census data is gesturing at. I'd love to start with a working definition of what a celebrant is. I think we sometimes assume people know what that is. And so I'd love for you to talk to us really broadly. What is a celebrant?
Well, William, in large part, I don't think a lot of folks know what a celebrant is. It's still relatively new in North America. It all began in Australia about 45, 50 years ago. But a celebrant is a non-clergy type person that is trained to understand funeral services, understand grieving families, understand how to work with these folks in putting together a ceremony that is meaningful to them, appropriate to their life circumstances, and something that's going to make a difference on that most difficult days. Because right now, many people feel they don't have any alternative but to go to church for a funeral ceremony. And that works for many families. I have much respect for the church. But you know, we have about 35, and that's moving up, 35% of our families that approach us at need are going, church wouldn't really work for us. What can we do? Or a lot of those families are assuming it's going to be cremation and nothing else because there's no alternative. So the celebrant will sit with them, will help them figure out what that day is going to look like, best for them, most appropriate for them, something that is going to be comforting for their family and the guests who gather to say goodbye.
I'm really curious to understand who is signing up for your training and like, what does that person look like? I know there's probably a lot of different people, but I'm just wondering who is signing up for your program?
So what they look like, some of them have these big beards. So, you know, we have a lot of funeral professionals signing up. We have funeral directors assistants, funeral attendants. We have a lot of retired funeral people signing up. We have retired clergy who still want to be involved in.
Interesting.
Pardon?
That's really interesting. Can you talk to me a little bit more about retired clergy? That's something I'm a little bit surprised by.
Well, because I think for their careers as clergy, they're working within the confines and policies of their church. That's their employer, and there's only certain things that they can do. But by becoming a celebrant and learning a little bit more about funeral service and specializing in that and understanding now that they've got some flexibility and room to move, I think a lot of them are feeling excited about maybe they can do things that they didn't have the opportunity to do before. So that's why I think we get clergy signing up. We have folks that are end-of-life doulas signing up. We have retired teachers. I have retired police officers. So from all walks of life.
Okay. That is really surprising and interesting to hear that. Can you speak to the general progression of the program over the course of at the conference, what it's going to look like? What's going to be covered? What ground is going to be covered? Is there going to be a project? Talk to me more about like what this is in a material way. What content are you going to cover?
Yeah, so over the 3 days, we cover a lot. Folks are going to be tired at the end of it when they're walking out of there with their certificate. But we're going to really start with the history of funeral service, history of funeral celebrants, how this all began. We're going to instill the importance of ceremony so that these folks that are leaving as certified celebrants, they understand the meaning and importance of ceremony, the importance and the purpose of the funeral. There's so much purpose behind it. It used to be we had funerals to respect the dead. Well, oh my God, that's 50 years old. So we're going to go through that. We're going to talk a lot about grief and grieving families, what to expect when you're meeting with these folks on their turf. It's a very different meeting than a funeral director per se would have with a family. So we go through that family meeting. We talk about the different structures of funeral service and what they're comprised of. We talk about the day of the funeral and the mechanics of the funeral and what they can expect. We talk about different venues that funerals can be held at. We all imagine it's going to be held in the funeral home or mortuary chapel, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's at a community center, a restaurant, a bar, you name it. So we go through some of the things to watch out for there. All along, there's tips and tricks. The participants then are given an actual case scenario of a family that I have served. So each of them will get their own unique families. And at the conclusion of the training, they are tasked to put together an actual funeral ceremony. We do a little mini funeral. It's about 10 minutes. That's going to have music and eulogy and prayer and scripture if their family wants that. And just making sure that they're understanding how to put that together, how to present it. We also, during the program, we do talk about how to speak, how to present, how to engage that family and their guests that are sitting before you. And then in the end, we also talk about marketing yourself. If you're going to be an independent celebrant, things like business cards, your social media, how you communicate that to the general public. So it's quite a comprehensive program. There's a lot involved in it.
Yes, it really was. And Beatrice and I both took this course this last fall, and it was really interesting. And I was really struck by how complicated or specific some of the examples you brought in. We touched on some taboo subjects, and I felt like that was a really good space to have some internal dialogue about dealing with really difficult cases, dealing with cases that have really specific moments that were happening. Can you talk a little bit, without revealing too much, about sort of some of the hard topics that you were discussing and confronting in presenting this class in this way and giving us these case studies that were actually families that you'd worked with?
So we usually, when we think of funeral service, ideally we think of a little old lady who's been in a nursing home and passes away in her sleep one night. Not that those are not challenging and difficult situations for families, but celebrants are also going to be confronted with tragic circumstances. We deal with folks that die by suicide, folks that die by overdose, tragic car accidents, murders, those sorts of things. So there are a lot of very challenging situations that we deal with just on the death side. We also deal with challenging situations on the family side, family dynamics, separated families that we have to bring together to plan that ceremony. Perhaps they haven't spoken in 10 years. We deal with alcoholism in families, drug use in families. So we see a lot of challenging situations, and as celebrants, we're kind of tasked to bring that together and put something meaningful together for these folks, of course, or guide them to put something meaningful. But there is a lot of challenging issues that people probably would not necessarily expect when they are about to meet with a family. And trust me, every single family's got something going on. Not that it's extreme, but there, as anybody that's watching this this Instagram live will know, every family's got stuff. Mm-hmm. So we need to all approach it from the celebrant's perspective with love and without judgment. We need to take care of these folks. Our job is to provide them comfort. Our job is creating a safe space for them. Our job is walking beside them through this most challenging journey, officiating that ceremony on the day, and just making sure that they were taken care of.
Absolutely. That non-judgment zone is a specific place that I think families are looking for in this pivot to the celebrant. So I think that's really important space to hold. I think another really important conversation is from the business perspective to help staff further develop their presence in our communities. The power of a strong personality is an enormous asset to a funeral home. And so my question is to funeral home owners, do you have a key employee who might benefit from coming earlier in the week? They might not stay through the full conference, or maybe they will, and you guys can swap out. But I think it's really important to think strategically about who really might benefit from this. And would you talk a little bit, Todd, about sort of identifying maybe who that key employee is to figure out who really is going to run with this opportunity and who's really going to create an offering that's going to differentiate your business from other funeral homes in the area?
I think that ideally every funeral home should be connected with a celebrant. I think that you know, we all as funeral directors, we have options for families for urns and caskets and other products. We should have options for how that ceremony is going to happen. So within the confines of the funeral home, I think you need to look for people that display that genuine empathy for families, people that are going to have that natural ability to connect with families. Most important to connect with families, but even almost equally important is connecting with congregations. We have opportunities here as funeral homes when we have 50, 100, 200 people sitting in front of us. In our funeral home, we have an opportunity to showcase ourselves. If we put somebody in front of them that is fabulous, that is going to sell funerals. And I'm not here to talk about selling funerals, but this investment in training celebrants is going to pay for itself 100-fold. It really and truly will, because when people leave a ceremony that have had somebody amazing speaking at it, they get out into the community and they say, I just was at the best funeral. The question asked to them is not going to be, oh, who was speaking? It's going to be, where was that funeral? And your funeral home is going to be mentioned. Therefore, your reputation steps up one notch from your competitors because you had such a great ceremony. So you'll know the staff. If you have somebody that's very shy and quiet and you don't think would engage very well, I don't know that that would be your best celebrant. It's not for everybody. You know, you need to have that engaging, empathetic, genuinely compassionate personality.
Absolutely. So I have a question from Monica in the chat, and she wants to know what the cost of the program is. It is an additional fee to come to this at the beginning of the conference, but I would love for you to talk about the early bird discount that we are offering.
So the early bird discount, if people register before April 28th, is $790. So it's a 15% reduction from the regular rate of $895. So it's a 15% reduction. And I believe if people register for both the conference and the training, you'd have to go to the IFDF site. There is a combined discount as well. So there are incentives for people to register for that training by the 28th of April, $790.
Yes. My understanding is there's a 10% discount combined. So you'll first get onto Todd's website. There's a link in the bio for you to find it, or you can go to the IFDF's website, and you're going to scroll to the second frame at the very top of the website, but I put the link in the bio. And you'll have that $895, and then it will be a 15% discount. I'm wondering, is the math right on that? You said $790.
I'm a celebrant, not a mathematician. Maybe I've got the number wrong.
15% off. That's pretty substantial. I think that's probably $130 savings. And then once you register for that, you're going to send a code back that everyone's going to use when they log into the IFDF to set up their conference, and they'll get a 10% discount with that, is my understanding. So that's pretty substantial.
And Will, I want to add that although it is a bit of an investment, it's not a large investment. That investment will be made back in the first 2 or 3 families that celebrant serves, because every funeral home will charge a clergy honorarium of some sort for the celebrant services. That is made back real quick. So it's a small investment for such a big outcome and benefit to your organization.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about what your philosophy is around really, really personalized services? Like, where and what gives you inspiration to really set yourself apart in doing services? What are the things you're thinking about? What are the decisions you're making? What are the strategies? I mean, just in seeing your presentation last year, I saw color blocking. I saw sometimes irreverence and humor. But I'd love to know more about what your sensibilities, what drives that.
So it all is going to depend on each family, and every family is unique. And that's why we really promote this no more cookie cutter funerals. Every funeral's got to be unique. Humor is something that I personally try and respectfully inject into every ceremony. not to be disrespectful of anybody, but it provides relief to people, and humor is real life. And so it's okay. But I look at the funeral ceremony, the traditional ceremony often saves that spot of information about the person for only during when the eulogy is read. That's the only time we're going to talk about William, is when it's eulogy time. Whereas my philosophy is we got to start with a beginning piece of music and how that relates to William. And we're going to weave your information throughout that entire ceremony. Let's say it's a hot and humid day in Florida. We can say one thing that William loved was a hot and humid day, and here we are celebrating him on a day that he would have absolutely loved. So that's just an example of how we personalize it. Right from the music he may have loved. William loved the Bee Gees. What a great way to start our time with a Bee Gees song. Can you just imagine him dancing his way down that aisle if he was not in that urn? You know, and again, that depends on the family. But my philosophy is that the entire ceremony needs to be based on the life of that individual. It needs to also include ways of providing comfort to his family and his loved ones and their guests that are sitting there. For me personally, I look at it as an opportunity to comfort hurting hearts. I think we need to, my goal at the end of every funeral, because when I was younger and used to go to funerals, I used to feel worse when I left them than when I first arrived. True story. My goal now is that I want people feeling better when they leave. I want people going, wow, I feel so much relief. I feel so much calmer in my heart. We're not there to take away their grief. That's the beginning of their grief journey, but we are there to bring comfort in a most difficult day. We're there to love them, coddle them, take care of them, and send them off on their grief journey in a state much better than when they first arrived.
That's beautiful, and I really appreciate that sentiment. I've definitely been to services where there was little conversation about the person who we were there to honor, and I found that surprising sometimes, and that is a specific kind of service. But I think we are seeing consumers who are looking to have their loved one front and center in big ways, in thoughtful ways, in creative ways. And I'm really attracted to funeral homes and funeral directors who are really pushing the envelope, who are really finding new ways to connect and bring that image front and center. So I'm so appreciative of this work that you're doing. I wanted everyone to know that we're being incredibly mindful of this pre-conference training in scheduling the conference this year. We've been really thoughtful about really minimal overlap with the conference so that you can get the most out of doing both of these things. It's a tremendous thing if you're able to make it to everything, and that would be so amazing to see you there. So Todd, do you have any parting words, any thoughts of anyone who's on the fence right now? I really appreciate it. And I see Beatrice in the chat. Beatrice, tell us a little bit more of your experiences in the chat, if you'd recommend it to other people. If there's anyone on the fence, Todd, do you have any like parting words for them to say about why and what the importance of this is?
Well, I think a lot of folks look at this training as, why would I want to take training just to be a speaker at funerals? I'm telling you folks, this will change your life. Being a funeral celebrant will change you. What you learn about life and people and the fulfillment in your heart to provide comfort during those times, you will never regret it. You will not regret it for 1 second of your service moving forward. I'm not using the word job because it's service. So if you're sitting on the fence, I promise you, this is going to change your life. If you're a funeral home manager kind of sitting on the fence, I promise you, this is going to affect your business in a very positive light.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that everyone will be joining us this year. So get it on your calendar, the IFDF 2024 Conference and Trade Show. Be with us. There's so much we're going to be doing this year. Todd, I really appreciate you jumping on tonight. We're going to get onto Facebook later this month and also do another one of these, but it's been amazing to connect and to visit with you again, and I always enjoy seeing you.
Thank you, my friend. Good to see you as well.
Thank you. We'll see everyone soon. Link is in bio for more information, or visit the ifdf.org.
Thanks, William.
Absolutely.